It's been a while. This is good. I have to do a podcast for Gallup tomorrow.
Getting back in the groove.
Yeah, better get back in the groove tonight. Hey, if you got this part of the video, you've got the live unedited edition. Home Gadget Geeks Thursday night. I just realized the date. I changed something on my computer, and the date is no longer where it used to be. I thinned out my Windows taskbar at the bottom. So there's some options in Windows that allow you to kind of minimize the taskbar at the very bottom.
Okay.
Well, when it minimizes it, now just the time is there and not the date. And I've always looked to that spot for the date. So maybe that won't work for me. The 7th of January, 2021. Mike, we made it. We made it to the new year.
Barely.
Sort of.
And starting off with a bang, let me tell you.
Literally. Woo. Maybe that's too soon.
Yeah, it's probably too soon.
Maybe too soon. Oh my gosh, we made it. If you're joining us for the very first time, welcome. You've got the live version of this. Hang tight. We got a great audience there. If you're on YouTube, if you're on the live page, go to YouTube. There's a link, I think, down below that takes you over to YouTube and join us in the chat room. And we'd love to have you jump in there. The best chat room in the world is over there. Brian, I see Brian and Joe and Ken was out there earlier. Sherwin, welcome, guys. If you're catching this any other time, but 8 p.m. in the Central Time Zone, just means you got the recorded version. Hang tight. The real show is coming up. This is the live version. We did an edited one we posted at theaverageguy.tv. Okay, enough of that. Enough of that stuff. Yeah, we got through it, Mike. And how'd it feel to take a couple weeks off? It was kind of nice to it's
felt good. I took it off from work too. That second week leading up to New Year's, I was off. Spent a lot of time with the family. Yeah, it was really good.
It was kind of nice. I think we all needed a little bit of a breather at the end. Hopefully, I know not everybody could take it. Like I know a lot of listeners, you're working in jobs and you just can't do it. And I'm sorry. Hopefully you'll get some vacation time going. You know what? I gotta grab something. Hold on. You talk to the audience for a second.
What's up, audience? Do you guys want to talk about Home Assistant tonight? Because I've been having a lot of fun with it lately. Those devices from China came, so we'll talk about that later. The motion sensors.
I got a smoking hot deal that we'll do in the pre-show. I probably won't talk about it. I might talk about it in the show, but we'll talk about it. So I'm a big Drobo fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Drobo fan. So Ken and I are doing these. We're kind of back doing proof of capacity. Another project. Chia is the name of it. CHIA. You can look it up if you want. And so I've been, I'm not gonna say I've been buying hard drives, but I kind of been buying hard drives. Again.
Hey, your Bitcoin's up so much you can afford it.
It really is. It really is. To the point where I did cash out some this week, and enough to pay for my daughter's tuition for a semester. That's not
bad at all. No,
not bad. When you put it in those terms,
you're
like, oh, that was pretty good. So I've been scoping eBay for some deals, and I'm going to say this is kind of Uyghur-esque. Okay, so maybe you should decide if this is Uyghur-esque. I'll let you decide. Okay, so I found this deal. A guy was getting rid of a 4-bay Drobo. It's an old one. So they were a couple $100 when they were new, but their prices have kind of held up a little bit. But in this plotting that Ken and I have been doing, really, I need smaller, quicker drives. So I need some like 1 or 2 terabyte drives, spinners, because they do a lot of processing. They do a lot of plotting. And so you just need a bunch of them. So in this deal, they had 4 2 terabyte Western Digital Blacks. These are the Cavalier, whatever they were. I don't know how to pronounce it. And the Blacks, pretty good, kind of enterprise class.
Yeah.
They've got some 64 megs of cache in there.
7,200 RPM.
7,200. Yeah, they're nice drives, right? So he was selling the Drobo with 4 of these drives for $200. And I was like, okay, well, wait a minute. So to try to buy these right now, they're $40-$50.
Yeah.
You buy them, right? So 4 of them, okay, that's $200 right there. And I was like, and then the Drobo was free. And then I had this Uyghur moment. I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy the drives. I'm going to sell that Drobo back on eBay again.
Now
And
that is a Uyghur moment right there.
yes,
I'm proud of you.
yes, I'm learning. So it came in today, and I tested all the drives. I was really more interested in the drives than I was, and I kind of wanted. It's kind of nice when you have a stack of drives that they're all the same. Like, you know what to expect from them. You can kind of move them around. You kind of know, in the work. I've got a handful of 4 terabyte drives and a handful of 3 terabyte drives, and fortunately got all the same models for them when I got those. So all the 3s are the same, all the 4s are the same. And of course, I've been buying those Seagate 8 terabyte drives. So I got a bunch of those, although there's some Western Digital ones sprinkled in there, right? And such. But so anyways, yeah. So it came in today, unboxed it, burned in the drives a little bit, just like, where are they at? What's the speed? Any bad sectors in there, those kinds of things, just kind of run through. And then I've been kind of deploying them. We will talk about on the show. I got an icy dock, 3-to-2 drive bay that I'm going to put in the unraid box. So when we get to the home automation part tonight, maybe I'll talk a little bit about that. But so we'll see. So hopefully tomorrow, Saturday, the Drobo goes back on eBay. And I even ripped off the pictures from the guy that
might as well make it easy.
Yeah, no, right on. I was like,
how much are those going for these days?
I'm going to start it. I think it's probably 49 just to attract some, to attract some bidders.
Yeah.
And then I think they've been holding their price pretty well. So I'm thinking between 100 and 200 bucks. I'm like 150 would be great.
Could make those drives almost free.
I know. So anyways, that was my
I like it.
My Uyghur moment.
I'm proud.
Yeah, I was pretty proud of myself. Well, we'll see. I still have to sell it. You know that I'm not very good at selling.
Have you already posted on eBay?
I have not.
Try Facebook Marketplace first. Number 1, no fees. Number 2, it's just local. Don't worry about shipping it.
No.
I've sold everything on Facebook Marketplace lately. I did have to go to eBay no, I didn't. I found a buyer even for back when I had those Dell R710 big servers. I found someone in Omaha. So I would try it in Omaha. Just see what you get on Facebook.
Well, try it. Yeah, try it first. Maybe try $199 on Facebook first, just to see if I can get the $200 price point.
Yeah,
local. And if it doesn't sell, Brian has said in the chat room. No, Joe said in the program. Jim still got that Bitcoin. Yeah. I still got. Well, this was a good. I mean, it hit 40 today. Right? 40? Is that right?
It's insane. It's absolutely like I've never been more mad at myself. It's 40. Back down though. It's 38.9 right now.
Yeah,
it's still 38.6, but
that's pretty good. It's been hitting 40 and then dropping. I think people have sell orders in at 40. And so it hits it and comes down. It hit 40 and then came down.
Yeah. So it has still more than tripled since I sold in November.
I know. I sold at 38 and I sold Ethereum at 1200. And just I was like, okay, it's time. Like, this is crazy. It is time to get some of this put in cash. So I just moved it on Coinbase. I just moved it into the cash account there. And I think I paid $100 per transaction. Yeah, to move that stuff. I was thinking about moving it to another coin that's kind of not as volatile, because that's free on Coinbase. And then I thought, no, they all follow Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin starts to plummet, starts to go down, in fact, the altcoins go down faster.
Yeah, right.
It's like getting out. So, it was good. It was a good last night. But I tell you what I did. Maybe we'll talk about this a little in post show too, or maybe we'll just talk about it now in the pre-show. So I've had that Bitcoin for a long time, maybe like 2 years. It just sat there. And at the beginning of the pandemic, it was not worth very much. And at the end of the pandemic, it was worth a lot. And so last night it was tough to sell. I was in bed with my phone, putting the numbers in, checking it. Go back. I checked the market. Like, I had to talk myself. It took me an hour, Mike, to make 2 transactions. It took me an hour to sell those things. I was like, where's this going? Am I doing it? So Dropped about 60% of it. I thought I'll keep 40, and if this thing goes even higher, I'll have some. I'll just sell it as
Yeah.
it gets higher. If it drops again, then I'll just buy back in with the cash, or whatever. It puts me in a nice
Yeah.
it puts me in a nice little spot. Like, it's not money I had before, right?
Right.
It's just ridiculous right now. So it kind of feels good to be back. It's probably the first and last time I'm ever going to hit anything like that. I just don't normally. That's not my thing. And you kind of let it go at maybe the worst possible time. That was,
Oh, for sure.
I mean, just right before it started. I mean,
I mean, I had
it
made
had come
on
back.
it, right? So I bought in at 6, got to 11, thought, well, it's almost doubling. That's pretty good. No one could have predicted the run it went on.
No.
Like, I think people would have thought the opposite.
Yeah. I thought the opposite.
Yeah.
I've been stunned the whole time. I've been getting notes from friends like, "Hey, did you see Bitcoin? Hey,
Yeah.
did you see Bitcoin?" You know?
We'll see. I want to hop back in. I think maybe the next dip I'll get back in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, hindsight is just so killer on that thing. And you think, you look now at the charts and you're like, that was so obvious. Well, no, it's not so obvious.
No.
When you're in the middle of it and you're like, oh, it's just like when it hit 3,000 and we were talking about it. And I was like, I should dollar cost average back into this thing again. And then you feel like when you're putting money in at that point, you feel like you are just throwing it away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what it feels like. You're like, and you put it in and it goes down, and you put it in and it goes down. Like, oh, right. And this is no magic. I didn't think this was ever going to do anything. I just didn't want to be 100% honest. I didn't want to create a taxable event. Like, that's why I didn't sell. I haven't sold anything for the longest time. I was like, I don't want to have a taxable event. I don't want to have to deal with this. Now I'm going to have to now. But, yeah, then it just kept getting, and I was like, whoa, I wonder how far this thing can go.
You know what? I haven't looked into it recently because I haven't had to do anything for taxes on it, but I don't know if it's LIFO or FIFO, right? Like, so is your basis the very first one you put in,
I don't know,
and then the first one you sell, or is it, hey, no, because you've been putting stuff in or converting it from your mining operations into it. Well, that's the interesting piece. To do. Yeah, like, I haven't looked into any of that yet.
I haven't either. I need to. Now, the good news is I did it the part of this year, so I don't have to worry about it till next January on taxes. So,
yep.
All right, guys. Yeah. So Joe, it definitely hit 40. I think we're at the top for this run. I think there's a psychological, because it hit 20 last time and it's doubled. And I think that's the psychological limit for right now. I think people just go, I don't know if I can do any more than that. And so that inflow of investor money stops coming in. And then, of course, then the price kind of stabilizes. Mm-hmm. The question will be, will something happen to scare people out of it? Or, because this is really the second or third, depends on how you count them, big run, does it not drop as much?
I mean, people got to remember what we went through in 18, right?
Mm-hmm.
I sold in December of 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, this exact time. It was up at 20,000, and we got all the way back down to, man, what was the lowest we got in the last 2 years? 4,003?
3.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was a massive drop it went through. So it could happen again. We saw this at the beginning of 18.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it'll pull back. There's so much money in it now. I think it just crossed the $1 trillion, but just Bitcoin, the $1 trillion cap. That's a lot of money.
I think that was all of crypto together, wasn't it?
Was it? Is it all?
I think it was all.
Okay.
I think it was the entire crypto market.
Okay. But still, that's a lot of change in there, which America is short on, by the way. We are still short on change. I don't know where all the physical money went, but maybe the post office took it, because I don't know where it went. I don't know. All right, let's crank on this thing, guys. Thanks for coming out tonight. Appreciate it. Good to have you. I'm getting used to a new audio device. We'll talk about that here coming up. So, all right, let me do this thing. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 474, recorded on July. I haven't even been drinking. That's
I haven't either.
another.
I
know.
quit a month ago.
Oh, good for you. Maybe we'll talk about that. All right, let me try it again. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geek, show number 474, recorded on January 7th, 2021. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the Average Guy.tv studios here in a pretty chilly Bellevue, Nebraska. Winter has settled in. We got 8 inches of snow right before. Was that right before Christmas or after?
I think. Oh man, that was so long. I think right after.
I think you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I was taking the trash out for post Christmas.
Yep.
And it just dumped on us. Here.
It's still around though.
Yeah, no,
melting
it is
off now, but still around.
A little bit of rain today. It was kind of. I don't know. It's been in a weird spot, but I liked it. I mean, it was great to have. I don't know. We got 8 inches, maybe 6, 7, 8 inches, which was pretty nice, I think. And of course, what is also nice is the show notes. We post the show notes out at the AverageGuy.tv at the beginning of the year. Mike, you know what we got to think about it every time at the beginning of the year? Yeah, you guessed it. A little HelloFresh. What do you think of that? You know,
I like the banner.
Oh, pretty sweet, huh? Yeah, it's always been there. I was
never used it
during the break. I was thinking like, what could I do different in 2021? I'm like, hey, they got banners, so we'll give some banners a try. You know, I still have a bunch of coupon codes and all kinds of things for you guys to try out HelloFresh. It was just a great reminder this holiday season while we were doing all our Christmas stuff. You know, we do 2 meals a week. There's 4 of us here right now: Sarah, Tim, Sam, me. And man, it is really nice to have 2 nights a week figured out, right? Just you don't think about it. Just set the meat out to thaw, especially because I'm home all the time. At noon, set the meat out to thaw. Then at 5:15, like clockwork, I grab the bag, take it up, holler at Samantha. She comes out. We chop everything up, put it in, cook it. It's pretty delightful. We'll get to this in a second. I got Sarah a big Christmas gift of a wine fridge, so we'll talk about that here a little bit later. So, and we've been picking wines for him too, and that's super great. So, if you want to give it a try, if you're just kind of tired of, come on, guys. Some of you are really eating bad. I'm not saying you're going to lose weight doing this. Everybody else is trying to do it, but it's some really good food. TheAverageGuy.tv/HelloFresh if you want to save $40. If you contact me directly, I can most of the time get you a code to try it for free. Might in the new year might be something to try out and to get it done. Mike, do you have any new year stuff that you're at home that you're trying family wise, or any new resolutions, so to speak?
No, Hannah and I aren't big on the resolutions. We mainly because we're so bad at resolutions. Like we came to terms with the fact that, we should just start new things no matter when it is during the year. So we've been trying to do things a little bit healthier lately, but we started that probably back in November. Just kind of cleaning up some of our stuff. But no, like my resolution is to not spend as much on technology this year. I was looking back at some of the expenses from last year. I'm like, ooh, I got into a lot of really new stuff.
I'm off to a bad start. It has been, like, I don't know if it's because I was bored. I have to be careful because Sarah's on the other side of the wall. I don't know if it was because it was the holidays. I was home a lot. I was bored. I got involved in some projects. In the pre-show, we're talking a little bit about doing some of this hard drive mining crypto work. And I was like, I was pretty happy with what I had, but this gave me some opportunities to try some new things. And for whatever reason, I haven't been as tight about that as I have been in the past. And so I'm going to show some of those things as we go. But so maybe a little less of it. You say that, but do you think you can do it?
Well, so I set a rule of if I want, because what I learned about me, Jim, is it's not big ticket items that get me in trouble. It's all of the little sub $150 items that you just kind of order. Yes, hard drives, all that stuff. Yeah. So and my problem is I think about it, like how many, there have been, this is bad, countless times I have been laying in bed trying to fall asleep. And I'm like, ooh, wait, that would be cool. And I ordered off Amazon. And so my rule is if I really want it, I'm going to wait 48 hours. Because me and like ADD with hobbies and I kind of want to start that hobby. So if I wait 48 hours and I still want it, then think about it more. But I'm trying to hold off on that button. And it's worked actually quite a bit. There's been a lot of stuff. I recently got into duck and goose hunting, and there's so much money you can spend on duck and goose hunting. And so I've been waiting on things, and okay, that was a lot better because 2 days from now, I realized I didn't need that. It's just a want. So getting a little better on the spending front.
You would, you'd enjoy hanging out with my brother. He is the exact opposite of me. So he's an outdoors guy. He's a hunter. He's a man's man, and he's a duck hunter. And so he's got a Black Oak Farms down in Oklahoma that he and his wife Monica co-partner on, and they got kind of a whole hunting experience farm going on. So you can go down, stay at the farm. They feed you. You can hunt down there. It's pretty cool. Now
that'd be great.
You'd think the pandemic could slow them down.
No. Probably picked up. People have time to kind of, and maybe they can even work remotely a little bit if they want to at night.
Right. And it's not a condensed, packed, you're talking about just a couple people at a time doing the experience. So, okay. So you and I both probably have, I did really good last year, but man, the holiday season, I need to kind of tighten that up. One of the things, new thing I also want to do this year is on the live show. If you're watching the video, big thanks to our Patreon supporters. If you support the show and you support it at $5 or more, your name is now scrolling on the bottom. I just use first name because I didn't ask permission to use everybody's last name, but it's down there. It'll scroll for a little while. I want to thank you for doing that. There is really now just a $5 level. If you came in a little lower, keep it if you want to, but move up to the $5 level. I'll also send you one of our Home Gadget Geeks coins, those little 3D printed coins that Ron printed for us. And I've got, guys, I actually have some, and I've got some envelopes I bought just for him. And now that I know how much postage it costs, I'd love to send you one. So if you want to join us at the $5 level, jump in there. US for those coins, it's a little harder to ship them international, but thanks for doing that. Big thanks to our Patreon supporters, especially as we just think about, Mike, we finished up 10 years of this, and I think we've been doing 10 years. I mean, I think we've been doing Patreon for 4 of it, maybe 4 or 5 years.
Wow, has it been that long already?
It's been around that long. I don't have to go back.
Probably, yeah.
17, maybe 16. So 4 or 5 years. I don't know. But big thanks to all of you who listen every week, who support us. You don't have to, but we appreciate it when you do. And thanks for doing that. We will be planning a Patreon meetup of some kind coming up here. I was going to try and do that in early January. I just kind of lost track. So we'll be watch your email feed for that as well. Mike, did you get any cool gadget gifts for Christmas? Let's start with that. Just kind of talking a little bit about Christmas gadget gifts. Any Santa bring anything?
Gadget gifts wise, not a lot. I got my wife a Rocket book, and those are actually really cool. So if you haven't looked at them, they're pretty simple. I'm surprised how cheap these things are now. So it's just one of those, regular notepads, but this one's kind of cool because you can wash off the ink. So it's got like 30 pages. You use a wet rag and you can wipe it right off. But my wife liked that you can write with a regular pen on it. So it's, a regular style pen. It's I think it's the Pilot friction pens is what you can use on them. And then you can scan those pages into your phone and organize them and send them to all your different cloud services. So got that for her. For me, I got a new Western Digital 4 terabyte drive as a gift. Yeah. So here's that's pretty much exact one I got her. And pretty cool. What I like about that Rocket book too is, there's really nothing too fancy about it. I'm glad they're the price they are because the app is really just a scanner app. I mean, you could use Nextcloud, OneDrive, to scan those in. But on the bottom of each page, there's like these little check symbols. And depending on which one you check, when you scan it, it'll automatically either you can program each one of those check symbols to do something. So email it to a certain email, upload it to a certain, Google Drive, iCloud, Nextcloud, whatever you want. And so it was kind of cool. So at the end, when she's done with the meeting, at the very bottom, she just check marks the things she wants. And that's useful for her because she does a lot of meetings with her boss because they do a lot of presentations together. And so she can just check mark one box. When she scans it, it'll automatically email those notes to her boss, which is just kind of nice. Saves a step. So she really likes that. And then the searchability is really nice in the Rocketbook app. Pretty cool. So for $24, not bad. And then she also got AirPod Pros. So she was got her a set of those. She's been wearing mine like all the time. And so I was like, you know what, it's time you have your own. And she loves cleaning the house with her AirPods and listening to her Harry Potter audiobooks. That's kind of her thing. And then a Western Terabyte, 4 terabyte drive.
Red, black, blue.
Yep, red. And I actually, so it was interesting. I didn't know what I needed as far as I was looking to replace a failed drive. So when I put it on my Christmas list, I had been looking to replace a failed drive that was failing. Then it failed on me. So I actually needed to replace it before Christmas. So I had already ordered a replacement. And actually, it's a long, convoluted way of saying that I ordered a replacement off Amazon so I could have the replacement right away. Because obviously my data was being, what's it called? Whatever unraid is when your data is not there, it was using the parity disk to say it was there. And I can't remember what it's emulated. Yeah, it was emulated. So I got that drive the next day from Amazon, replaced it, so it was all good. Then I sent the failed drive into Seagate. That has taken a long time. I just got the notification that the RMA was shipped back to me, and I did that RMA back, I want to say beginning of December. So I know the holiday season was probably tough for them, but it was a long replacement time for an RMA on a Seagate. They are replacing it because it was only a year and a half old. So they're sending me a new one. But then I got this new one for Christmas because I'd obviously put that on my Christmas list. So I actually added a second parity drive to Unraid, which is something I had never really thought about doing. But now with 2 parity drives in Unraid, I can lose 2 disks and be totally fine. And I have a lot of old drives in my Unraid. Yeah. And a lot of drives that are the same age. So I was like, you know what? There's a very high likelihood that if one of my drive fails again, another one could at the very same time, especially because rebuilding puts a lot of stress on the other drives because it has to pull all that parity data from every single drive to rewrite. So you're reading a ton from all the drives. So now have a second parity disk in there, which allows me to have 2 drive fault tolerance on the Unraid box, which is kind of nice. It was a little like, okay, well, now what do I do? Because I didn't need an extra 4 terabytes of storage. I still have 11 terabytes free, which is more than enough for me. So yeah, adding in a second parity was, I think, a good option for that red drive.
I've been digging these. So this is an eBay. These are Hitachi or HGST. These for 4 terabytes. They're and you can get them. Sometimes they're new. Sometimes they're refurbs. Sometimes they're used. Types. But if you kind of watch this, and like right now, 4 terabytes is the sweet spot. We're talking $60. You probably they're 100 or more if you're buying them new.
They are. Yeah, those reds. I think it was a Red Pro even. So that's like 120. I want to say for 4 terabytes. Yeah. Brand new from Amazon.
Right. So that's pretty average price. Walmart, I just showed 118 at Walmart if you want to buy it there. Here in the US. But these drives, they're 7200 RPM, 64 mega cache. They're enterprise class is what they say, kind of heavy duty. They're kind of built. They were kind of built to be in data centers. And of course, data centers are rolling all these things out. And so there's just an abundance of these. And Mike, this is kind of where I've gone.
It's a really good deal.
A lot of what I'm doing. For the Drobo, when I've been replacing all the drives in the Drobo with 4 terabyte drives, I get the slower spinning ones. They call them cool spin on this side, and they say they're not as hot. It sits inside that Drobo, and I to be honest with you, I don't need speed in there to be honest. Like the Drobo slows it down naturally. Right. I don't need 7200 RPM drives in there doing it. But this has kind of been what my go-to on eBay has, and I've had really, 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 really good luck. We talked about as far as getting great drives. One of the tools I've been using when I get a drive off eBay, I've been using Crystal Disk Mark and Crystal Disk Info to run it on there. Right, it goes in and it shows you a whole bunch of things. What I've been looking at is the number of hours these drives have been spinning, and then on one of the slow days during the holidays, I thought, I'm going to build. I should probably do this. Hold on. Let's see. Do I have this?
Did you build a spreadsheet to track this? Please? Yes.
So a spreadsheet model, every single model what their specs are. So their speed, how much cache they have on them. Then I did some ATTO testing on them to say, okay, what are we really seeing from a benchmarking perspective? And I took a few kind of benchmark speeds that were in there. But the thing I started looking at is the number of hours. Like, when you're buying new, it's gonna have 0 or 1 or something on there. But like some of my drives, I have an 84,000 hour drive. Like, I've had it for a long time. 2, they just run all the time, right? In my environment, they're running all the time. We mentioned it in a pre-show, but on eBay, I also bought a Drobo deal, and it came with 4 2 terabyte drives. And $200 deal with the Drobo. I'm going to sell the Drobo and hopefully make that back. If I don't, it's still a great deal. Mike, one of the things I tested, so I put all these in and ran the disk info on them just to see what kind of hours were on them. The most one had was 1,300. And now these were drives they're 2013 drives. So they're 7 years old and they got 1,400 hours. My average drive speed, not that I calculated this on my spreadsheet that I put together, but my average is 64,000 on my drives, right? To be able to pick up drives like that, I just got lucky again, but maybe 2021 is going to be my year of luck. Like maybe everything's going to be lucky. Good Drobo deals, good Bitcoin deals. But I think, Mike, that was one of those things as you think about your Unraid box and the drives you're putting them in. How long have those things been on, right? Kind of knowing it's like changing the oil, right?
It is. Unraid spins them down when they're not in use. Since it's not typical RAID, it doesn't need those running all the time, which is nice. So I think when you use Unraid, your hours are probably less than normal. But even on those drives that you were reading from, that's only, I had to do the math, but 58 days of runtime. And those are probably in a data center where they're on all the time, right?
Yeah.
And not in something like Unraid.
So this came from these 2 terabytes came from an individual. And I don't even know how you would have, like, I have a feeling he bought them new. And they've been sitting in a Drobo that hasn't been turned on.
Yeah. Like, or does Drobo spin the drives down when they're not being accessed?
It will spin them down.
So maybe he just never was accessing the data.
Yeah. But to get hard drives used that have less than 1,500 hours.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of lucked out on that one. Now, that being said, my other drives are, they're in the 40, 60, got a few that are in 80. They test fine. They're still cranking along. But it was kind of, for me, I've got so many of them now. It just was helpful to put a spreadsheet together to kind of start saying, okay, what is what and where do I have it and what am I using it for? Kind of data stored on it and how many hours are on it. And to your point, this is what really struck me is what you said is I could lose one of those drives. Am I like, do I need to be more careful about where I put it?
Yeah.
Kind of based on that.
Right. Yeah. Well, and so I like your spreadsheet idea because I'm the same way. When I went to go replace that drive that had failed, 2 things for me. Number one, I had totally forgotten about what drives I'd replaced and which ones I hadn't over the years. I thought for sure I had these 2 WD yellow enterprise drives from a long time ago, and they weren't in there. I'm like, oh, I must have needed to replace those at some point and didn't know. Like, I have no idea what was even in my box. The second thing for me was I need to actually label. So I have that Rosewill massive, I think it's a 12 or 15 bay server case, but they're not hot swappable on the front. So to actually replace drives, you have to remove the lid of the server and pop out the drive trays. Well, I have never written which one is which, and Unraid tells you which one's failing with the ID of it. So if I just put that ID on stickies, because it was the last drive I pulled. It's every time, Jim, when you go to pull something out, I pulled out 10 drives. It was the 11th drive that I pulled out. That was finally the one that had failed. And of course I have to deconnect and reconnect all those.
So sometimes it is labeled for you, depending on the drive. You can see, there'll be a label. This doesn't tell, you'd have to go in and see which disk it was, right?
Oh yeah. Well, no, it says it, but I'm saying like I had to pull each drive out of the tray to see. If I just said if I had labeled on the top of the server, hey, this caddy has this drive, this drive, this drive in slots 1, 2, 3. That's what I need to do. And I told myself, well, when I replace this drive, I'm going to do that. I didn't. I was in a rush. I just put the lid back on, closed it, and now I still don't know where all my drives are in there.
So
Now, even
so,
color coded and everything. Jim,
well,
you don't go lightly on Excel sheets.
no, when I started getting going, what's in the Drobo and the new drives I just picked up are down below here, and just some indication. It was one of those, like, I kind of need to know. I just got stuff everywhere, and I
Mhm.
that's my MO. Listen, I'm not normally a spreadsheet guy, but this is, as I started working on this project, I just thought, I should probably get a handle, because in the Chia project that Ken and I are working on, kind of the better drives you want to put in a position that when you're processing the plots, that's the
Mhm.
most intensive part of the whole thing. Once the plots are done, you can put them on it doesn't matter, as long as they can get to them, what drives they go onto. So it got me thinking, okay, what are my fast drives, and then what are my not so fast drives? And I kind of need to prioritize. If I'm throwing crappy drives at the plotting, then the plotting goes slower. And
Right.
that, day over day over day over day, that can make a big difference. If I can get it from 18 hours to 12 hours, okay, well, that day over day, that's significant, right? I can start really beginning to, and it's power consumption. So if I can get it done faster, it's less power than I'm using, and those drives are better. So it's just one of those moments. I've been doing this for about 2 months, but mm, no, I don't know. I guess it was early this week. Yeah, maybe Monday or Tuesday in the evening. I was like, I'm going to put this spreadsheet together. So maybe just a good idea, if you've got a lot of drives or you're working on that, just get an inventory, sit down. That the crystal disk info gets that super easy for you. Just start it. It finds all your drives, and then it gets all that information. By the way, there's plenty of other ways to get that done, but that was super helpful to me and kind of fun, super nerdy. But I, like you, Mike. That's like, I got another drive for the Drobo coming tomorrow. That's going to go in and give it more space, and so I've been planning. But let me be really clear. It has been super fun. Like, I think the most fun I've had with my stuff in the last 5 years has been over the last 3 months of doing this kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
no regrets there. It's super fun. And one of the things that, well, and we're not going to talk about this in depth, but I will mention, one of the things I got that I put on my list that showed up was a Meter Plus. And we've been talking about these. This is a thermostat, or what do we call these things? They are a temperature
Thermometer.
probe, thermometer. Thank you. Totally. I was like, what do we call these things? They're a thermometer. The Meter Plus has a sensor in the top and in the bottom. So it does ambient temperature on the outside. It does meat temperature on the inside. Wi-Fi enabled. You can use your Bluetooth to extend it. It's dude, it's super cool. Now, I have yet to jam this in a chicken yet. So I got some work to do. But I'm really excited. I had been using the iDevices iGrill. And by the way, which I still really like, Bluetooth enabled, so a little more difficult. You get too far away from it and you lose connection. And one of the things I like about the Meter Plus, is you can hop connections in there. So if you've got it, it's Bluetooth. If you go to a Bluetooth that has Wi-Fi, it'll hop and you'll get even a farther distance. So you can read this thing a little bit farther away. And so the base station is the very first part, right? So you have the meter in there. Then this goes to your phone, and then the phone can go to Wi-Fi. And there's just tons of stuff that you can do to extend the range. This was what was bad about this. It's only like a 30-foot range. And then I'd come down to the basement and be like, yeah, I don't know. And I'm like, well, I want to be down here
Yeah.
when it's cooking out there, right?
So my trick with that is, so you put the meter in the meat, you stick that base on the grill, so it's right next to it, because the probe to that is really the short distance.
Yeah.
Then I have a tablet that's just always on in the house. That is what's receiving the Bluetooth, and since that's connected to Wi-Fi, you can be anywhere in the world, because that's connected to the internet at that point. So the tablet, to me, then because I have my phone on me, so I constantly walk out of Bluetooth range from that sensor. But if it's on a tablet that's just constantly close enough to it in the house, so that's what I do. I run the cook on the tablet, because I know the tablet's not going to move. But I'm going to be walking around the house. I'm going to leave with my phone, and I don't want to lose connection. So that's why I really like having that extra little tablet there. And then I monitor it from work. So I'll do a smoke, do that. And now, Jim, you can go to work and you've got your phone on you. And as long as you started it on the tablet at home, you're good to go.
Yeah.
I wonder, I don't know if they have an Android app. Are they iOS only?
No, I don't know.
The tablet I run's an iPad, so I don't know.
Yeah. I think they do.
I would assume so.
The base is just an incredible craftsmanship on the base, right? It just little magnet pops on the back, batteries in there. It's just beautiful. So that was by far favorite gift. Now, don't get me wrong. I got some Baileys and I got some Old Forester bourbon and I got some, the kids got me some Jefferson's bourbon barrel cask strength bourbon. Okay, those were good too. Don't get me wrong.
I bet
those were super good, but super fun to get the meter. So you'll hear more about that coming up, but definitely one of my favorite gadgets.
It's amazing.
Kind of coming out of that. One gadget, Mike, that got me a lot of work to do. So like I did not anticipate this happening at all. Let me stop sharing here and let me bring this up. Here is I thought it'd be a great idea to get Sarah a wine fridge. Like, electronically controlled. You can set the temperature on what you want. We don't drink that much. So 18 bottles was good. Just a great opportunity to get in there and try something new. So ordered it and I was a little at first I was kind of like, I had ordered a generator from Lowe's and they broke it twice delivering it. Like UPS is not good at heavy things.
No,
they're not. So I was thinking, I hope this thing is glass.
Yeah.
So it came and I was going to open it the morning it came. I was going to open it and just inspect it. But Sarah it came on a Saturday. She was up. I had to get it wrapped. So like, I didn't want her to see this thing. So I quick wrapped it. And so we opened it on Christmas morning. It's a miracle. It was perfect. Right. So I'm like, she's like, we're going to put this. I was like, well, it's really kind of your choice. And she's like, well, I'd kind of like it in the kitchen. And I said, oh, it could go like right here in the kitchen, except there's no power right there. So it's like, okay, well, started looking around. Well, I lucked out again. There's power on the other side of the wall. I could just go, I could punch into the wall, run a wire, tap it in, come out. Okay, that's cool. And then while I was thinking, okay, while I'm in there, we've got this, it's sitting right next to this base cabinet. There's no power up there. I'll just run in line down and in there, right? Cut another hole, put power in that. That was kind of the easy stuff. Then we thought, this looks kind of silly over here without anything around it. We should put some new cabinets in. So
this is a give a mouse a cookie type of project, huh?
Dude, it got totally out of hand. So the night before the snowstorm, I ordered from Home Depot 3 new cabinets. So 2 uppers and a big pantry cabinet. And I was like, well, it's going to snow the next day. I better go get these. Home Depot had them ready in like 10
minutes. I need a snowblower to snowblow my drive.
so I go out, almost. So I go out and pick out the counters the cabinets, and Tim helps me put them in the house. And then a couple days later, I spent a full day putting them in. And then you're like, well, we need some under cabinet lighting, right? So I start like, it seriously is a project. That just one thing. I still have to put the trim down on this thing, but we are mostly done.
But is the wine fridge even in there now?
It is.
Okay.
One of the things, let me, one of the cool things that came out of it, let's see, let me go back to Amazon and we'll go to orders. I shouldn't show this publicly because it's really kind of sick. How much stuff I've been buying lately, but so, in the fridge, in that area, I didn't want it on the floor. I kind of wanted to elevate it on a stand. And so I saw this stand it on Amazon, $70, 65, let's say $65.99. And it was the perfect size for both the fridge and a little container. We put our wine glasses and, bottles and stuff in like a container.
Yeah.
And that container perfectly fit. Again, it's been like,
So you got yourself a little liquor corner. I mean, it's got
yeah,
wine
well,
and
no. So when I put the cabinets in, she moved. We have we have kind of like a bar station now in the
yeah.
kitchen. Super great. Empty bottles go in here. It slides in. They're covered. It's pretty great. And so that is in between. We have a cabinet that's in the middle, a big pantry, and then upper cabinets across the top. I was really surprised I got those in. But after you're done installing the cabinets, I know this has never happened to you, but after you're done installing cabinets, I looked at the other cabinets and I'm like, oh, those cabinets are crooked. Like
those need to go.
those are crooked. Now, no replacement on them. But I did spend an afternoon completely like taking the screws out, jacking them around so they would get square and plumb. And the guy who'd put them in before me, they weren't quite just exactly even. There were some spots underneath where you could feel the two cabinets, I'm in there jacking up cabinets to get them fixed and stuff. In the end, it was a beautiful fix. But it was one of those things where, one gadget
right
led to
how long from start to finish was this project? So from the time you
all the things I bought.
From the time you got the wine fridge out and put it there and realized you need to punch a hole for power to the time it's all done, was this a week?
It's a week.
Okay.
Yeah. There's probably a week. And not working on it like I'd work on it in the afternoons.
Right.
Type deal. So but just kind of I was actually surprised. Usually I don't do well at those kinds of things. That just has not been my forte.
Right.
One of the things I learned is if I just slow down, because I'm always in a hurry to get it done. And when you're in a hurry to do those kinds of things, you always screw it up. And with these, I watched a bunch of YouTube videos to start with. I'm like, okay, how should I install these cabinets? So I watched a whole bunch of different ways of people doing it. And I picked what I liked, and then I just did it. And, I was countersinking the screws. You have to put a screw between two cabinets that come together. So I was drilling those out and countersinking them and then putting the screws in. It looked just super nice. I could put a little piece of wood in there if I wanted to. I'm not gonna, because that's over the top. But I just took my time with it, and it turned out pretty nice. I think one of the other things then that in all of that, I've been trying to get out on the deck still, but it's been cold. So we've been trying different gadgets to get that done as well. And Mike, this may be something you think about a little bit for your deck. This is just a 15,000 BTU heater that sits on top of a regular, propane.
I think I was the one who told you about these.
Were you? Okay, good.
During a show. I think so.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Because I remember bringing this up to someone recently.
I bought them.
Does it work?
They're great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad they actually work.
Yeah. No, they are really, really, really good. So
and do you have the single version like this? Because I've seen some where there's duals.
Yeah, they do have duals. The two. I thought I want to try single first and just see what kind of heat that thing puts out. And actually put it outside I was enjoying a candle with Ed Sullivan in my shed the other day. That
took me a second.
If you're new to the show, that's the
code word.
That's the code word we use so we don't get booted off YouTube for cigars. And I'm really not that worried about it. And so I just put it outside the door and then kind of pushed that in towards me. And it was really, really nice. About 33, 34 degrees outside, and it was keeping the shed warm enough. I am buying a CO2 detector to put in the shed just to make sure I'm not killing myself. And
right.
I'm not closing it up and those kinds of things. But yeah, so Mike, if this was your recommendation, really, really good recommendation. And one that you can, like, if you're outside, you can get that thing, kind of closer to you, and it kind of warms you up nicely. So
yeah, this was my plan for the goose blind. So I'm going goose hunting next week, and I was like, what should I do? And they make the little tiny ones that run off the tiny bottles. But number one, those are expensive. And number two, those tiny bottles don't last very long. I think you kind of reminded me, I kind of forgot about these, but we had talked about it a while ago. I might grab one of those because for a duck blind outside, it'd be perfect.
So
you just got to make sure you don't shoot the propane tank, but
no.
probably wouldn't be
yeah. Yeah, it's got a safety mechanism in there. You need to make sure you take a lighter with you because that's how it doesn't have a self lighter.
Oh, that one doesn't.
No.
Okay, they do make models that do. It has a little red, like little, those little ones that you like are on the grill. That one looks like it does on the side, the little red button.
No, that's the primer. So you push that, and then see this little hole right here.
Yeah,
you push one of those lighters or a match through there, and it lights the tank.
Okay.
$45. By the way, use Honey or one of those kinds of coupon sites.
Oh yeah, because Harbor Freight always has a ton of coupons.
Yeah, and so I got it covered my shipping and tax, the coupon.
And I know we've talked about it, but while we're talking about it, give me 1 second.
Yeah. As Mike is getting something from the back deck. Let's get rid of this.
Okay, so while we're talking about Harbor Freight, I just want to bring these up again because they don't get enough credit. If you need a hard-sided case to put like electronics in, this is from Harbor Freight, and it's the Apache. So this is the 3800 I have. So this is what I take my ham radio in when I do out in the field, and it is awesome for the price. I want to say, man, we should look it up. I think it was like $40 right around there. It's got the pick foam on the inside, so you pick it exactly to the shape of what you're doing. So this is exactly fits your ham radio, or whatever you want to do. So that fits my ham radio. Nice and snug on both sides. Supposed to be water resistant. Now I haven't tested that aspect. I know some people have, and they said it's fine. Little knob you turn there, and it makes it water resistant. This is one of my favorite Harbor Freight purchases I've ever made, just because it is so much cheaper than like Pelican. Now I'm not saying it's the same quality as Pelican, but a lot of us don't need the quality of Pelican. I don't know if I'd trust this thing to put it onto a plane, like in the bottom checked luggage, like you do with Pelican stuff. I might. But especially for just throwing stuff in your car, I think of a lot of like hunters who are now taking cameras out in the field to record their hunts. Perfect for that. Love those.
If you don't have a local Harbor Freight in your area, they'll ship to you here, at least here in the United States. And I do, but they didn't have any of those heaters locally. No surprise. It's hunting season. It's being outside season.
Yeah.
Right. So they shipped one, came fast. And like I said, it was $45. So not a bad way to stay warm. I ordered the CO2 battery operated CO2 because I want it sitting in the shed while I'm out there. And then while it's running, I just want to make sure I don't asphyxiate myself while I'm out there or using that thing, because it is an enclosed area, and there is warnings about not using it in an enclosed area. So I'm like, well, okay, let me just make sure. When I was spending time with Ed, he's like, you should probably just make sure you're not doing that. So we'll be putting that in here. I think it'll come on Saturday, that CO2. Mike, back to I want to talk a little bit now about Home Assistant, and that had been a very, very popular program. We're going to spend you've got a bunch of stuff coming in. I've been dabbling, Home Assistant really took me back to Unraid. If there was anything, like, I was using Unraid, but I really had no reason to use it, except I didn't have a reason to use it. LAN cache was a great application, but that by itself wasn't enough. And then we got into Home Assistant. It's like, this is super cool. As I've been buying more drives, I've been dropping down my kind of the lower drives that I have. The older ones have been going to Unraid. You mentioned that just a second ago. Like, I'm kind of using some shoddy drives. Well, I have a Fujitsu Synergy box that I've had for a long time. Core i3 540. It's an old box, good power, works perfect for Unraid. But getting in and out of that box has been kind of a nightmare. So I tried to get ICDoc to send me one of these to review, and they wouldn't. So I ended up buying it. So screw you, ICDoc. But I did pick up one of their the for 3.5-inch drives, It's 3 bays in a 2-bay slot. That the box that I have is a 5.5 inch bay slot, so it'll be perfect for that. I really expected the doors to be on the very front, but they're kind of in a ways, and so the drives stick out a little bit when you put it on there. I'm kind of used to there being a cover on it. I think this was 45, so not terribly expensive. These things run 90 to 150 depending upon which one that you buy. But it's got a little fan control on the front, this side maybe over here. Little fan control on the front, controls the fan in the back. You can see 3 SATA ports on this side, 2 power on that. Pretty standard for IC dock if you're doing those. Hot swappable, so you can pull those drives. That was, Mike, really what I wanted. I didn't want to have to bust into that box
like I have to do. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah, so I want to leave the so the OS is running off of the flash drive, right? So I have to mess with that.
Yep.
I have an SSD cache that's inside an IC dock container that's sitting in a slot. I want a parity drive that I don't want to move around a lot, but
yeah,
I want. Then I'm going to put the data drives in here, so I have easy access to them.
Yeah,
kind of going forward. So that's kind of my over the next week or two. That's kind of the work. I'll be bringing some of those drives down, pulling some of the old drives because I have some really crappy laptop drives in there now. Most of them are failing their smart health. I'm getting the thumbs down in the dashboard for them. You picked up some new gear though. What'd you get for your Home Assistant stuff?
I did. And this was something you guys might remember. We talked about this a while ago. I was trying to look back at when I ordered this, but I talked to you guys about the really cheap Zigbee USB hub and motion sensors that I ordered from AliExpress. So I ordered those, beginning of December, I think, and they just came this last week. So, it's AliExpress, right? You got to wait a month. But for the same USB hub on Amazon's $40. I got it for $4 off AliExpress. And this stuff isn't internet connected. Now I know there's always they could be Chinese crap, but I don't think these are. I'll say I think they're pretty good. But for $4, I got the USB stick and stuck that on the Unraid box, passed it through to the VM of Home Assistant. So that gives you have access. So that USB stick has a Zigbee radio on it. So that is what you need to use Zigbee devices with Home Assistant. You can plug that thing into a Raspberry Pi, whatever you want to do. So I plugged that in, and I also ordered, I have a third one on the way, Aqara, Aqara, and they are motion sensors. So Aqara makes a lot of Zigbee devices. And Jim, I actually thought of you because I'm like, oh man, if Jim gets the $4 stick, they also have the little humidity temperature monitor. Throw that in your humidor for your cigars, and you could plug that into Home Assistant.
My candles. For my candles.
For your candles, your candle holder, and make sure the humidity is not melting your candles. And then you could plug that into Home Assistant. Yeah. And man, even more so if you got like some sort of humidifier that could activate when the humidity got below. Oh man, all sorts of possibilities there.
I like it.
But anyway, so got it up and working. I tell you, this is the cheapest, best way, and it adds so much functionality that I didn't know I needed into Home Assistant. But let me give you an example of why it especially solved an issue for me. So these right here, these have been my favorite thing in the world.
What are they?
These are the TP-Link Kaza smart switches. So this is, you replace your wall switch with one of these. Now, I know, Jim, this doesn't work for you or anyone who doesn't have a common wire. But if you have a home that has a common wire, I have gone crazy with these things. These are now all over the house. And essentially think of it as now your light switch has smart capability. So you'll be able to turn on, turn off from your phone, from A-Lady, from Home Assistant. And I all of a sudden, Jim, I have so many extra Hue bulbs now because I had Hue bulbs in my ceiling or in lamps that were controlled by manual switches, and that's how I was getting smart. I even had them up in light fixtures, and now that I've put this on the wall, there were some of my places where the fixture had 3 hues in it, and now I can replace those with just the cheap LEDs. I pulled the hues out, and because now it's all just controlled via the switch. So I've gone crazy with these. So these are great when you are pushing an action to them. So saying turn on, turn off, it happens instantaneously. What isn't instantaneous with these is polling their state. So if you tap this on the wall, it takes the polling rate in Home Assistant. I don't know what it is for everything else. It might, if you're using some other system. For Home Assistant, the poll is 30 seconds. So you don't know, and it polls every 30 seconds. So it could be a maximum of 30 seconds before Home Assistant knows that this has changed. Now, like I said, pushing an action to it, if I say turn on, it turns on automatically. But knowing if you've changed it on the wall via the switch itself, it won't know for up to 30 seconds. Well, the way I had this set up, Jim, was you guys know my basement is unfinished. And all of my lights down here are, a few of them are on a switch, a few of them were pull strings. So I wanted the ability to, when I walk down the stairs, we have what do they call it? A 3-pole switch where you can turn it on and off in 2 locations. Three-way switch. So I have one of those on my stairs. And what I wanted to do was when I flip the switch at the top of the stairs, for it to, via Home Assistant, via one of these switches, turn on all the lights in the basement. Well, we figured out that 30 seconds was just too long. You would turn it on, you'd walk downstairs, and you'd be walking around in the dark for another 15, 20 seconds before they would turn on. So, it worked. And for turning off, it's fine because when you leave the basement, you walk up the stairs, you hit it, and you don't care if it's another 30 seconds before they turn off, as long as they turn off, but it's the turning on. So I added one of these little Aqara motion sensors. And the motion sensors, by the way, were $13 from AliExpress. Go ahead and get those from Amazon, though, because they're only like $16 to $19. So yeah, you're going to pay $3-5 more, but you don't have to wait a month for them. So the Aqara ones are on Amazon, but I would just get the USB hub. If you can wait a month, get the hub for $4 compared to $40 on Amazon. But the motion sensor teamed right up, and it is instantaneous. So I put it right by the stairs. So as soon as you start to walk down the stairs, all the lights in the basement turn on. And the other place I put this that was really nice. So I started to think in terms of, okay, it drives me nuts seeing lights on around the house. Like I am a true dad now because I get so upset when lights are left on. But it's no one's fault, right? I am guilty of leaving the lights on all the time. So I'm starting to see, okay, in what areas could I have lights turn on and then turn off when motion is not even sensed anymore? Because these sensors, they sense occupancy, and while there's movement, and then when there's not movement, that can also be a trigger. So our laundry room was the other place I put one of these. So again, I put one of these switches in the laundry room for our overhead light. And as soon as you walk into the laundry room, it turns on. You're doing your work. And the laundry room is a perfect place for this because there's no time where you're sitting in the laundry room not doing anything and the light's going to turn off on you and you need to do that awkward, hey, I'm still in here, like some of our offices do at work. So you walk in, it senses you, turns on, and then as soon as it senses no motion anymore, it turns it back off. So our laundry room light can just turn on and off. So, one of these switches, which these Kaza switches you can get on a really good deal sometimes on Amazon. I think the lowest I got them for was like $14 per switch. So not bad. So $14, motion sensor of $14. So if you think about it, for, $30 a room, you can have motion with your light if you have an overhead light, which isn't too bad. Now I think of this in energy cost savings. That's going to take a long time with LED lights. It's probably not saving me much money in terms of that, but it's just kind of convenient not having your lights, not having to do that. And especially in a laundry room, you're walking in a long times with a basket full of laundry, just to have that light turn on. Basement for me was just one of those convenience things. So those motion sensors are good. The next place I'm going to put the third one is our son wakes up a lot in the middle of the night and runs into our room, and it's all dark throughout the house. And he doesn't know he's kind of scared in the middle of the night and he wants through. So I'm going to put one right outside his room that'll just turn the hallway lights on just like a little bit. Cause now with all those hue lights, I was able to put them in places that I didn't have them before. So our hallway now has all hues. So those can just turn on just a little bit, just to give him enough light so he's not, bumping into things in the middle of the night. And then the final one will be in our kitchen. And, all these are conditioned based. So in the middle of the night, I'm going to maybe have it start at 10 p.m. till 5 p.m. If we walk into the kitchen at night, just turn the lights on just a little bit, just enough to let us, get that midnight snack and then turn it back off when you walk out. So nothing life-changing, but just little tweaks that make life that's kind of cool. I like that.
Nice. I love the ability to kind of say, hey, if it comes on during this time, bring it up. Now the light has to be able to support this, but bring it up to this level. But if it's during this time, bring it up to this level.
Yep.
And so you get some of those kind of conditional formatting things on them to say, hey, put this here, put that there. We've got a couple lights that as soon as it gets dark, they come on. over the cat litter box. Like we want the cats to have light. The front door, Sarah loves having a light. Our front door has a big piece of glass, a big piece of like stained glass in the front of it. She likes to light that up. So you want to turn on the light on the inside, not the outside, but on the inside, where we put Govee sensor lights on the outside. She always has, and so I just have those come on, at dusk. They come on, at dawn they go off, and they're just on all the time. It's an LED light, so like I'm totally okay with that. One of the things, I tried to install those switches and didn't have very good luck. But so one of the ways I'm going to get around that is I purchased the not Casa, I guess it's Casa, right? This is a Casa switch. And I bought, when I bought those Amazon Echo Flexes.
Oh yeah.
The Flexes, you can get those add-on components to it. And one of the add-ons is a motion sensor. So I had the motion sensor light. I was going to use it for something else and it ended up not working for it. So I'm going to put that in the garage and put this down at the end. And I just purchased a little $11 LED light that'll go up on the ceiling. And when it senses motion in the garage, it'll come on. And then, the garage isn't one of those places where you want to leave only motion sensing on because you've been working on something and then it doesn't sense motion and the lights go off when you're in there.
Yep.
So in the garage, you don't want just motion. You want motion plus is kind of what I'm going to call it. The ability to turn a light on and leave it on. So what's the situation? We're coming out the door. Okay, the motion sensor's right there. It needs to turn a light on so someone can see for the time that they're in there. Yet we have a main garage light. I bought one of those ones that kind of looks like a spaceship, right? Well, that's on a switch. That one I do want. I'm not going to, initially I was going to put that on, a smart device, but I'm kind of like, nope, actually I want that one hardwired. If we're going to be in the garage, turn the switch on. When you leave, turn it off. That's kind of the manual. Otherwise, the motion will cover this, and I can also control that one light with the assistance. If I want to, I can create. So I'm actually kind of doing two lights in the garage that way. One that's like, hey, no, I'm going to be working in here, and I want this thing to stay on, and I don't want it to be connected. And one is I need enough light so I don't trip on the.
I just need to walk out there, get something, come right back in.
Exactly. Yeah. It took me a long time to figure that out. Like I was, what do I want to do and how do I want to do this? And so I had an extra plug, ordered an $11 LED light from Amazon and took the Flex out there. And so now that should all work. Yeah. So
that's a great setup. And I agree with you on the motion thing. You don't want to be sitting out there. That's where I started to play in Home Assistant. You can have conditions where you can set a qualifier of time. So, hey, if it's gone to no motion for 5 minutes, because I'm likely not to sit perfectly still for 5 minutes, right? Or whatever you want to set that time frame for. So not like, hey, there's no motion anymore, turn it off. It's like, hey, no, there's no motion and that stays in that state for X period of time. I'm probably not there anymore. Turn the lights off. In the living or in the laundry room, I actually don't care too much. Even if you're in there being still, maybe you're folding something, it's not sensing you. It does turn off right back away, but then it'll turn right back on if you just move. So not our laundry room is pretty small, so you can trigger it pretty easily. But I just like all that connectivity. And Joe asked in the chat, the polling rate for Zigbee, for me, it's been instantaneous. So I think the problem with Casa is it can push right away, but for polling, it's polling from the cloud. I'm pretty sure from the cloud state of the device, or it's just the way the integration is written for the for Home Assistant. That's probably actually more likely. And so I think maybe it can't, pull from the API more than every 30 seconds or else it gets locked out. So that's the only issue. But Zigbee's all local. That's the thing I really love about Zigbee, Jim, is there's no cloud component to all this. There's nothing. It's like a hub and a device, and they pair directly, and that was it. There's no internet. It's not Wi-Fi. It's just Zigbee, and it could not have been easier to get set up in Home Assistant. There's, I think, two... I will tell you guys, if you go my route and you do the hub from AliExpress or really any hub, and then you do the Aquara stuff, don't just do there is a Zigbee integration. That may work for you depending on which stick you get. It didn't work for me. There's a better way to kind of do it with two different add-ons from the add-on store. So again, this would be another reason why you would need the VM version, right? If I was running this knock, you don't get the add-on store, but you have to add a repository and get Zigbee to MQTT and then an MQTT broker and just run those two. It sounds a lot more complicated than it is. It's super simple. You just plug those two in and it gets to work. But man, I've just been like, those little things are just huge. I am so used to now just when I pull up to my house, the garage door just magically opens. Like that has still been my favorite automation. Because even when Hannah's in the car with me, she's like, "Oh, that is kind of cool." Because like I'll get in her car, we drive, and we pull up, and it just opens, and I love it. All those little things just kind of add up to have a really cool experience.
They do. When they don't work, they're kind of maddening, though.
Oh, they were. Well, yeah, because the MyQ garage door, MyQ is trying to lock down their API. And so there's actually a little backdoor trickery now because they keep removing the access, and then Home Assistant cool people keep finding a way around it. So it disconnected for a while. I was like, no, well, that's like literally one of my favorite features. So, yeah. But instantly in the Discord, Home Assistant has their own Discord. All the guys were just like, hey, try this. This is what we're doing. And they just found a way to, hey, add this line to your code and you're back up and running. A really cool community over there around Home Assistant.
Do you have a security camera in your garage?
I do.
Brian says he recently bought a Wisecam 3 for my garage. Good for security, but also to double check that I closed the door after leaving.
That is the number one reason I pull up that camera. Yes. Yeah. One of my cameras is literally just to see if I would close the garage door.
I have a Z-Moto pivot out in the garage, so it'll move around. It's really an overkill for what I do in the garage too, but it is one of those, gives me notifications during the day. If like, I'm more worried about I left the garage door open and someone's in the garage. Like that's what I'm worried about. So I have that out there. It works pretty well. It doesn't integrate with anything. Z-Moto has chosen not to be a good partner a lot of times with a lot of that stuff. So and it's primarily their older stuff. I don't know about their newer stuff if it does or not, but that has worked out pretty well to have that in there too. I can just jump in the app, kind of say, like you said, like, did I close that before I left?
So. And that's another way with Home Assistant. So ours actually, I have it set now. If the garage door is open for more than 10 minutes, it lets us know. It sends us a push notification to Hannah's phone and my phone saying, hey, the garage door's been open for 10 minutes. A good little reminder. And then also at 11 p.m. every night, if it's open, it'll close it. So I do have some backup things of like, okay, 11 o'clock, if it's open, it's going to close that door, which is nice.
Well, and this, Brian says, I've driven 2 miles down the road. It can't shake that feeling. Like,
We're the same way. That's why we did the push notification, because every time we leave for a vacation, we end up pulling up the camera app and checking if we close the garage door. So now we just know because it'll notify us if, hey, oh yeah, we did leave it open.
Yeah. Hey, and I normally, I do the old school sneaker net method. The garage is just that way. Like it's on my way upstairs. I have to pass by the garage door. So my routine at night is I go to the door, open it, look. Oh, it's okay. It's closed. Close the door. I just do that automatically. So I haven't really, that hasn't been especially during pandemic times. Not really going anywhere that much. So those kinds of things, that camera actually went down for a couple of weeks and I didn't know it because I just don't use it that much right now. But now that I'll be driving, I'll be going back into work here in the next couple of weeks on a more regular basis. So be good to have that for just that reason.
I love those smart plugs you talked about too. I use those everywhere. I actually set up now in Home Assistant too, and you could do this via A-Late or anything, but Thursday nights, 7:30, these studio lights turn on, my LED strip turns on, the shop light, because I have an overhead light here, turns off, because I keep that off while we podcast. So I come down, and now the studio is set for podcasting. It actually did it the last 2 Thursdays, is how I was like, oh yeah, normally I podcast. I would come down here, I'm like, why are these lights on? I'm like, oh, it's Thursday at 7:30, and now the lights are all set.
Well, everybody knows I've got that auto tweet that goes out that says, hey, Home Gadget Geeks tonight, regardless of whether we have one or not. I actually got into IFTTT and shut it off. Like I got guilted enough. I think Brian Auer said to me, is this actually going to be real tonight? And I was like, no. So I think that's a good reminder. I should go and shut that down. So there can be times when that automation bites you, right? I have my studio lights just voice activated because I do different podcasts during the day, and I don't,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I could turn them on at 6:45 or whatever. I don't know, but I just say, "Hey, lady, turn on my studio lights." Good enough for me in what I do. The great thing about this is you can customize this to do anything you want,
Yeah.
right? You know.
Yeah, there was one guy who he used because Home Assistant now has the ability to use NFC tags. So he has he has a stand that he puts his phone on. And so he does it for when he comes into work in the morning. So in his home office, so he sets his phone in that, and all of a sudden his office transforms into like work mode. He even has it where music starts playing, his coding music, the lights turn to their different levels. He has automatic shades, and so the shades open up to let sun in. Really cool. That's kind of I would love. I have the old school shades that aren't on the string, but man, automatic shades would be awesome. We're the type that we're just always adjusting our shades. We live on a corner lot, and so people can just see into like every one of our windows. So at night, we're always adjusting them. I would love to. Those are expensive though, but that would be a really cool next step for the home automation.
All right. I think man, that's a lot of stuff. We just kind of plowed through it. Anything else?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else over the break that you're thinking of that's worth sharing?
No, the Home Assistant stuff is just stuff I've been
Yeah.
nerding out on, and there's just always so much more that you. Yes, the other thing I was talking about was scenes. If you haven't played with scenes in Home Assistant, really cool. So if you're like me, when I first got into this, like I have a nighttime like automation and it turns off lights. I was individually in the automation listing every single light I wanted to turn off. Well, first of all, you can group those, but secondly, you can just create a scene. And the cool part about the scene is go around and set everything like you want it, and then just go to the scene and say capture the state of all these devices. And so you don't have to go in and say this device is on, this device is off. Just set your house how you want it, or your living room, whatever scene you're making, and then go ahead and just say, hey, go capture these devices. That's the state I want them in when I say go to this quote scene. So you can have a nighttime scene, a daytime scene, whatever you want. And then the other cool one I will say, since I did put one of these on the fireplace, I haven't showed Hannah this yet, so don't tell her. I do have a set the mood automation where the lights in the living room turn off, fireplace turns on, and smooth jazz starts playing out of A Lady. And it is the funniest thing. I just got it working the other day, and it's perfect.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Good. Keep the fire burning.
Yeah, right. It's more of a joke. It's never gonna work. I mean, but it's still a funny, and the guys go like, "Hey, look what I can do," and tell A Lady to set the mood, and it's more of a gag, but it's pretty good.
It's still, you're thinking about it. I know you sent little flirtatious tweets or
I did.
messages to her. So,
Well, and that automation is actually through A Lady because I still do not have the connection between A Lady and Home Assistant. But A Lady can connect to all that same stuff. She can connect to smart switches. She can play her music. She can turn off lights. So that automation is not even through Home Assistant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Amazon ecosystem is powerful. I mean, they got a lot of good stuff going on.
They do.
There. So you don't if you're thinking, oh man, I don't have the equipment to go into Home Assistant, you can use, and if you've got some Echo devices, you can do it that way. If you got older Echo devices, you might want to check on the Amazon website. You can actually trade those in or trade them up for newer stuff if you want to go that route. This time of the year, I'm always seeing, like I saw the Show 5s for $44, $44.99.
Dang, that's a good deal.
So it's a great way. We use the heck out of ours in the kitchen. I mean, that thing is just worn out. In fact, I kind of wish I had a bigger one that was in there. So get some opportunities, to purchase some things if you're so inclined, and lots of compatibility. Mike, anything else?
No.
Couple reminders for folks on the way out. One, I played them early, but I'll play it again. Big thanks to our Patreon supporters, and we're scrolling on screen. If you're watching the video, we're scrolling on screen. Those of you who are $5 or more supporters, if you want to support us and kind of some of the things that we're doing here, help buy all this crazy equipment that I buy some of the time, Average Guy stuff. You can head out to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon and get signed up there. If you sign up for the $5 plan, I have a little 3D printed coin that Ron put together for us. and we'll get that mailed to you here in the United States. If you want to join us in the Discord group, and man, the smart home group has been doing pretty well. It's not too. One of the things I like, Mike, about our Discord, it's not too chatty. Like,
Yeah,
it's
true.
chatty, but it's not too chatty. Like, I can walk away from it from a couple days, and don't feel like I have to come back to the Magna Carta. Right? It's just kind of
Yep.
like so. If you're looking for a group that's kind of kind and not too much, head out to our Discord group, theaverageguy.tv/discord. If you want to leave us a message, this is something new that Mike and I have been trying. I'll pimp this for the next couple months, but head out to homegadgetgeeks.com, and in the bottom right hand corner, it's just a little microphone. Click it, record a message for us. Maybe you have a question, a comment, some feedback, whatever. We'd love to hear your voice. Homegadgetgeeks.com. That's a recent change. And we'd love to have your voicemail messages. You can send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Follow me on Twitter @jcollison, @WegerTech for that guy that's over there. And then, of course, I want to remind you, theaverageguy.tv, both web and media hosting powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. And, of course, you know that's Christian. MapleGrovePartners.com. He just pinged me the other day and said, hey, we got a new Home Gadget Geeks listener on board. And so I appreciate you guys using Christian for that. Plans start as little as $10, and he can do just about anything. He's the smartest guy in the world. And he can fix anything too. He's pretty incredible about that. We had the site was kept going up and down. The averageguy.tv kept going up and down. He can figure it out for the longest time. He's been kind of busy too. So I was like, hey, don't worry about it. Just, reboot it. It'll be fine. Then he the other day is like, I finally found it. He goes, we were writing a log file to a spot that wasn't big enough. It was a temporary thing I'd set up a while ago, and just forgot about it. And so we've got you back on the right stuff. So we're back and awesome. So Christian, thanks for all the work that you are doing there. And then of course, I mean, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention HelloFresh. Listen, I'm just gonna say it. You got to try something new. Okay, this is year 2021. If you're eating for calories and not for enjoyment, like Mike, every meal now, like we made shepherd's pie last night. No, I think it's not shepherd's pie is made with lamb, but we made it with beef. They call it something else, pub pie. I don't know, something like that. And it's a contest now to see who can make the most delicious dinner at our house. I'm cooking, Sarah's cooking, Sammy's helping. Like we're doing these kinds of things. And that's all because of HelloFresh. That's all because we've been trying different recipes and they kind of teach you how to do it. So if you're kind of bored, you're kind of bored with it. Like if dinner's boring, it's time. Now, Mike, little kids, it gets a little challenging with HelloFresh.
Yeah. That was it. Yeah, we loved it. And again, it was just the kids aspect that made it tough because we were still having to make a whole another meal for them. So it was like,
here's the way around that. Like order the 2 people, because there's going to be 2 nights you're going to feed them fish sticks, or they're going to get corn dogs, or they're going to get hot dogs, right? I mean, make that for you and feed them hot dogs.
Right.
Right? Mac and cheese, right? Pizza, like let them, you can, throw a frozen pizza in there for them, and then you cook something good for yourself.
There you go.
And it's exactly what you need. It's not too much. You use it all. It's gone. You're not having to go to the grocery store and buy a whole bunch. Like when you buy celery, you're basically buying a whole field of celery these days. Like if you go to the store, you're like, it's like a bundle of celery.
Yeah.
You're like, God, I'm never going to use all this kind of thing. And so they send you exactly what they need. So give it a try, theaverageguy.tv/HelloFresh. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. We'll do a little post show, a little crypto conversation in the post show. We talked about it in the pre-show, but maybe you didn't join us. We'll spend a little crypto conversation. We haven't done that in a long time, and crypto prices are ridiculous. By the way, if you head out to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon, I also post the full show out there for everybody. So if you can't find it on YouTube, it's always on our Patreon page, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. We'll spend a little time talking crypto. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. Back in the saddle again. Wow. Have you been? Has the price changed at all since we've been
Since we
on
started the show,
Yeah. So for those of you, if you're not following, crypto hit 40,000. For Mike,
it's been
40.
dropping. Dropped $500.
What did we argue about? Okay, remember we had that big.
Oh man, yeah. Am I right now? Has this? I should go back and look at what I said.
I think you might be right. We had this big long. I'm going to say this is like December of 2018.
Oh,
We
the
had this
amount of booze
big-
I had in my system for that show was regrettable.
we had this big long conversation about crypto, and I'm having even having a hard time remembering what you were arguing and what I was
Can't
arguing.
remember. I don't want to go back and watch. I'll just be too embarrassed.
No, it was painful, but no, I had a good time. It was super good. Yeah, Ethereum's down too a little bit. So, what do you think? Like, okay, so you're the average person now.
Mhm.
You didn't participate in Bitcoin at all. You know, there's a tendency when these kinds of things happen and it gets some visibility for people to start paying attention and they get a little FOMO. Do you think you just right now? I mean, I think right now you just avoid it. Like, get familiar with it, learn some things about
Oh,
it.
really?
For God's sakes, don't buy. Don't you think right now? Like,
I was going the opposite.
oh, okay. Well, what do you think?
Well, to me, I think I would never play the short game with crypto. I don't, right? I think it's totally fine. I think people should put some money in there, but consider that just as long as an investment as any of your other investments, right? I think you got to give this, because if you really think about it, I mean, no matter when you put in, even if you put in at 20,000, it seemed like that was the worst time to buy. You would have almost doubled. You would have doubled, right? It hit 40 today. So even if you had bought it at the peak of 18, January of 18, and it looked like you had made the worst investment of your life when you went to 3, as long as you didn't sell, right? I mean, okay, I work with wealth advisors, and our job is to get people to not sell. Like, just convince you to talk people off the ledge of when the market is down, where this is not time to panic, right? We buy more at this time. We don't panic. So I think if you overthink it, you're never going to buy in from the average guy's perspective, right? Because especially right now, you're just never going to buy back in because even if it does drop, let's say tomorrow it drops $3,000, it's down to 35. You're like,
right.
Ooh, well, it's probably going to drop more. Now it's on the downhill. Now it's on the, so I'm going to wait. Well, it's going to go right back up to 39 the next day, right? Like, knowing your luck. So my suggestion would be, if you know enough about it and you're comfortable and you have the extra income, consider an investment, throw some money in now, right? I don't think we've seen the max at all. I mean, I think this is going to go much higher. I think it's just going to take a long time. So that would be my perspective of it, is play the long game. Don't try and guess what the market's going to do. Just like how everyone says in the stock market, yesterday was the best day to get in, right? Like, don't try and don't just keep, well, I'm going to wait for it to dip. Just get your money in there and let it do its thing.
So there's a couple, 2018 is very, very different than today as far as getting into crypto.
Very much so.
And Coinbase, which it was around, but it was early days on Coinbase. It's so much better now than, it's just such an easy thing to use. You can set up automatic deposits into it. You can, the app is great on your phone. It's kind of easy to manage these things, see where things are going. And then I think PayPal just recently opened up. You can buy crypto through PayPal now, which is now I haven't done it. I can't recommend it because I don't know anything about it. But the on ramp for that is so much easier. Joe just put that in the chat room. Apparently the on ramp is just so much easier than it used to be. We've had Edward on, and he had an ATM, Bitcoin ATM here in Omaha over at Jones Brothers. It's just easier. I think it's just easier to get into. I do think there needs to be you kind of need to have a plan going in and a reason to do it. Otherwise it won't make any sense. You're just buying kind of nothing and hoping it does something. And I do think, I always bought it and held it. It's why when I sold this last night, I didn't sell 100% because I kind of want to stay, I want to stay in the
game.
I kind of want to stay in the game. I saw, it was a kind of a nice triple digit for where I bought some of this stuff. It was it was a pretty good little increase
Oh, I bet.
on this thing, right?
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, wow, okay. Well, I'm going to leave some there. Joe said in the chat room, it'll probably hit 160 before it's all done.
Oh yeah.
I,
Well,
I don't know if it will or not. We're not predicting that, but if it does, and I don't have anything in it now, I can't reap the benefit of some of that.
yeah. I mean, I think it's going even higher than 160 because, and then the reason I say that with confidence, now I'm not guaranteeing this to anyone, right? Don't come after me when
This
it doesn't.
is not financial advice. We're not financial
Yeah.
advisors.
I'm not a lawyer during this, and I'm not a wealth advisor during this. But the reason I say this is because I am in the wealth advisor industry, right? And people are taking this so seriously. There's a really cool company now called On Ramp Invest. Tyrone Ross is the CEO. Really smart guy. And they are coming up, they have now portfolios where Bitcoin is wrapped in. So, as part of it. And that's becoming more and more popular. On Ramp Invest is one of my favorites. But as that becomes the trend, now Bitcoin is in the big leagues, right? Because if it hits part of your portfolio without you having to go to Coinbase, with you just, you and your wealth advisor sit down. I want this, model where Bitcoin is wrapped in. It's just there. And now that it's institutional and it's there, it's there to stay, I would say, right? Like I don't see it going away anytime soon. Whereas before it was being taken seriously, this was one of those like could be a fad. I don't know. I don't consider this a fad anymore. I think it's well maintained. It's there. So that's just my opinion on it. And I like where it's going. I like how, and for me, Jim, it's seeing and not being ageist, but seeing the old executives of wealth management firms start to take it seriously. I mean, those guys, they a lot of them are just stuck in their ways, right? Like they're like lawyers. Like they've done things the same way. They're very, just in their ways, stuck in their ways. So when I see them starting to get interested, I'm like, okay, like if it's even catching their eye as something that's to take seriously, then okay, because it takes a lot to change the gray hairs, right? Like in businesses. So
yeah, it still has. This is kind of what we argued about that 3 years ago. It still doesn't really have anything. Like it's only valuable because people buy it, right? It's only valuable because
it's all the argument's starting to come back now. But like, but isn't everything that way? I remember I go.
But it's still like so people are like, well, what's it good for? And you're like, still nothing. It still isn't good for anything. It's not, it's not like it's, the hope. Edward would always tell us like, well, I mean, you can do international transactions with this so much easier, and it kind of helps us go around kind of some systems that are antiquated and aren't working really well, and it's cheaper to kind of do some things. And we kind of found out that didn't really work with Bitcoin. Like that wasn't when the transaction volume went up, it actually slowed down and it had problems. And I mean, we discovered it's not necessarily the greatest financial transaction engine in the world for what it's doing. At the time, I don't know how they're handling the volume now. Maybe they've probably done some forking and some things to make it better. They learned some things from it and such, but still, like, if I ask you the question, Mike, like, what does it do? It doesn't do anything. Bitcoin literally does nothing. Like it's not even it. Now Ethereum, on the other hand, it's actually got some use. Like there's actually some things they're doing with it. There's some transactional stuff. Still, nobody knows what they are, and they're not very public. It's not like you're buying gas with Ethereum, or it's handling credit card transactions, or some of those things that we talked about early on. So I think I still think it's interesting in where this is going. For me, some of the mining that I did early, I was able to do in turn that, some of what I just turned into nice little payout was from mining, right? It was from some of the hard drive mining that we had done, that burst, unfortunately. busted, and it's kind of done. But it's been funny. I've had some people ping me and say, "Hey, you turning your GPUs on with Ethereum so high?" Right? And I did. So last night, I turned. They're all still set up, ready to go.
Yeah,
man, they are loud. Like they ran for about 10 minutes, and I was like, I can't do this. I don't know how I did this before. I can't do this. I'm gonna have to move them to the garage if I'm gonna do this. But let's just at least see what they're generating. Well, 2 cards generated about $1.20, let's say, a day. That's so they were averaging about $1.20 a day. Well, I mean, we've known GPUs are not, that they're basically generating about what their cost in power is.
Yeah.
Just to kind of be honest, like it's a wash on that thing. Now, if you generated some Bitcoin today at that price, and a year from now it was double or triple, well, okay, so it was worth. It's a wash today, but it gets you something to move into something different, and then maybe you can, maybe there'll be some money in it when you do it that way. So I don't know. So the answer is, can you turn your GPUs on? Well, I only use NiceHash. That's all I used. I didn't. In fact, I have totally forgotten, Mike, how to do everything else. Like I was like, let's see, how did we do this? What kind of code? What kind of code?
I have a YouTube video on it. Just go back and watch that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, the other day, Ken asked me, hey, I think Burst is done, and he's like, do you even know how to get to yours? And I was like, I have to dig up some notes. I mean, I kept notes and I kept that information everywhere because I knew there would be a day when I'd forget, because I would go 2 years. I knew this. I would go 2 years without even thinking about it. And then one day I'd be like, where did I put all that stuff? Where is it all? So, I took some pretty good notes. Surprisingly, the notes got me back to it. But it's so meaningless,
Yeah.
at this point. You're like, yeah, that's done. But I think that's good. This new one we're doing, Chia, that we're doing, is learned from all the lessons of everybody else. And they're like, okay, we're not going to make those mistakes. We're going to make it this way. They're the mistake of let's see, okay, what was even the name of it? Not Burst, but the ones with file storage.
Saya.
Burst? Saya, there we go. Saya's mistake was they tried to compete with Amazon.
Yeah.
That ain't gonna happen. Like, and kind of made some assumptions that everybody has unlimited bandwidth and unlimited storage. Well, that's not necessarily the case, right? So these guys are like, we're going to do proof of capacity, but we're not going to try and store things type deal. So I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting to say the least. I think I've said that about 1,000 times. It's interesting. Kind of.
It is.
Give me something to do over the holidays.
Awesome Miner and Mining Pool Hub.
Oh yeah. Awesome Miner.
And then you connected that with Mining Pool Hub, which would switch you back around between the algorithms. But I think we only switched that because NiceHash had been hacked, right?
They got hacked.
So we switched to Awesome Miner and Mining Pool Hub.
They just paid everybody back though.
Yeah.
So
it's NiceHash probably still the easiest. I remember that being so easy.
Oh, it's super easy. So I got hacked. I maybe had, I don't know, $40 in there when they got hacked. So I wasn't,
Hey, Brian.
you're like $40. It's not a big, it wasn't even mine to begin with. It's $40.
Yeah.
So I didn't even think twice. Signed up for the repayment plan. And for the last 2 years, they've been paying you back. I went in the other day, it was worth $150 because
price has gone up.
the run up of this thing. And I was like, oh, I should probably move this somewhere. I should probably move this over to Coinbase so I can, get it. And then I thought, no, I'm just gonna leave it here for a while. Just see what happens. Keep me interested in it. So, well, Mike, it's a super good perspective, because last night I was like, maybe it's just time to get out. And then I was like, no, I need to hang on and see where things go. I hadn't even thought that, Joe said 160, and you're like, yeah, it's got, yeah, maybe. I was thinking, yeah, it's just, again, limited thinking. Like, yeah, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the most it'll ever be. kind of deal. But maybe it's got some additional runway.
Yeah. I mean, if gold bars can do it, why can't crypto?
True.
Crypto is more useful than a gold bar. What is a gold bar good for besides hitting someone over the head with it? And you don't even have it. It's in a bank somewhere. So, like, you know, it's more useful than gold.
They make jewelry out of gold.
Yeah, but then again, like, why is that so expensive?
No, right on. It's
right. It's that same mentality.
You're totally right. Bitcoin is the modern version of gold.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Now, if they can figure out how to make it more transactional and easy without all the fees and everything like that, Coinbase has been doing a pretty cool job. They did, like, my dad testing it out on just sending it to an email. Worked great. Like, even an email account that doesn't have a Coinbase account works. But you can just send it to someone's email and it works.
Yeah, no, they're doing it. They're doing a nice job.
Yeah.
It just seems to be they've got their act together over there at Coinbase. So pretty great. Well, hey, many of you guys are ditching on us. I shouldn't say it that way. You're having to leave for other engagements. Thanks for coming out tonight. Good to see you guys. Know Brian left earlier, the Edge of Tech. Thanks for coming out as well. Sherwin, Brian, Alex, Ken, who was out there earlier.
Tony, Joe.
Tony. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming out tonight. We will see you next Thursday as we continue to move along in 2021. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.